Let's take a look at ValPlan, our online tool that will support you in your implementation of the Value First framework. You might call it competitive engineering or EVO or just the guild methods. But ValPlan is built from the ground up to support all the aspects that we teach in the Value First framework. Whether it might be how to separate the functions from the values, how to focus on stakeholders, how to keep the technical solutions separate, how to connect them, how to do value decision tables, how to do scales, how to do define words and have a common glossary. Everything is supported in ValPlan, and it's a collaboration tool so that you can have many people working on the same projects at the same time. It's really a fantastic tool, and you can sort of look over my shoulder. I'm going to show you around a little bit in ValPlan. Now, before we start, remember that it's not how you learn these methods. There are so many conceptual differences to what most people do, so you cannot just throw yourself or throw some of your colleagues into ValPlan and then they go off working. I highly recommend that everybody takes a course. We have online courses, we have public courses, we have in-house courses. That is the best way to learn how to really grasp this or get us to come and help you in the project as consultants. Alternatively, the cheapest way, I guess, is to read. It's a little bit hard to get everything, but if you're a good study and a good reader, it is also a way in that you read one or two of our books, and then you can use ValPlan, and it will support you and your whole team in working according to the Value First framework. So let's have a look. This is the main working interface of ValPlan. We call it the canvas view. In the canvas view, you have a view of all your specifications, whether they are values, functions, products, services, stakeholders, or any other specification. You can see them all at a glance in the canvas view. The specifications are grouped into levels. So we're looking here at all the specifications we have for this mountain bike project at the product level, at the bike level. Then as we go down here, we have a technical idea solution level, and we have the action steps level, the EVO levels. As you go up, you go into the stakeholder levels, all the stakeholders, what they want to achieve, and the business levels. You get a complete overview from business level to stakeholder level to product level to solution level and EVO level of all your specifications. And in between each of these levels, we have access to value decision tables. We'll take a quick look at that at the end. If I select a specification, I see all the specifications attached to it or linked to it. So for my mountain bike, I have all these values directly connected, and of course my mountain bike project. The lighter blue is indirect. So my mountain bike is directly connected to these values on the mountain bike and indirectly to these stakeholders, their values, and the business level. I can click on any specification and I can see how it is directly and indirectly linked to the various other specifications. From the canvas view, I can add specifications. So if I, for instance, want to add specifications right here at the stakeholder level, I can click Create. I get a menu here, and I can add groups of things, stakeholders, constraints, functions, development resources, values, products, services, solutions, actions, all kinds of specifications. Let me add a couple of stakeholders. Select stakeholders. Let's say most of these stakeholders are for the product of the bike, but we're actually going to create a sales web page. So let me add a software developer and a product owner. Create, and whammo, I got my software developer and product owner stakeholder. I'm going to add them into my internal group here just by dragging and dropping them on top of my internal group. So now you see I have my product owner and my software developer. Look, they're not linked to to anything. Let's say I want to link my software developer to my sales website. What I can do is I can just simply click. I have to hold Option, and I can click on my sales website, and I want to do the same thing with the product owner. If I click on my software developer, you can see they are linked to my software product. If I create specifications at, for instance, the product level, and I want to move them, let me take serviceability here. I have a whole menu that I can use just for serviceability to do all kinds of neat things. I want to move it to the stakeholder level, so I'll just click stakeholder. It warns me it will move also the children, and here it is moved over to the stakeholder level. Let me just move it back to where it belongs. Right in the canvas view, I can also edit any specification and view them. So let's say I go to serviceability.suspension. I can just double click, and up on the right comes what we call the sidebar. And here's all the details about serviceability suspension. Here I can see the administration, and of course I can change it. I have a graphical overview of the specification, the pass level, tolerable level, goal level. I can see the owner, the stakeholders, the scales with its definitions. I can add meters, pass, tolerable, goal, relations, etc. Let's add a value so you can see how easy it is to edit and change, and how some of the really fancy functions makes life really easy for you. Let's create a new specification so you can see how easy it is. There are many ways you could do it. You can go here and say create a specification, but what I like to do is I like to put it right here in my product level. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create it from here. As I do that, it knows it belongs in the product level. But it's not a product that I wanted to do. I want to do a value. So I can just search there, click value, and I need to give it a name. Pump time. Click add and create. Pump time now shows up as a blank template. It knows it's a value, so it has pre-selected some parameters for me. Let's start by adding some stakeholders. There are several ways in. I could click on stakeholders and click link to existing stakeholders. Pump time, let's say the bike owners, not really, but the rental owners would be interested in this. I could say, well, what are their role here? They are customer, and create link. Another way to add a stakeholder is I can actually, having this specification selected, pump time, I can scroll over to my stakeholders by holding the option key down. I can just click on the other stakeholder. If you look at my cursor, you'll see it changes to a chain, a link, and say the pump time, I think the users, I just click and they show up over here, will be interested in, as well as shop owners. Next, let's create a scale. So we can click on scales. Now, there might be a predefined scale for you in our library. You can click, it says Control E here, you get up this fancy menu and you can choose a template. If I click template, I can see all the values that are already have quantified scales that you can choose from, and we will expand this library. Actually, I find nothing here that has to do with how fast you can pump up a tire in a wheel, so I'll have to make it from scratch. Let's create a scale for pump time. I wrote seconds to pump up the tire from flat to the desired PSI. If flat tire is not completely clear, I would need to define it. To define a word, you just select it, the menu pops up, you click define terms. See, it's not already defined. So I will click create new defined term, and up comes a place where I can define the word flat tire. So now I have a defined word within the scale. I define it as 0 psi and the rim touches the ground. If the concept of flat tire is something that I might have use for in other parts of this project, I want to bring this definition from a local definition, which only applies really to this scale, to a product definition, so that any specification in my product should be able to access it. Here I have a set of products, and this is my mountain bike project. To bring it up so all the specification for a mountain bike can access it, it's a click away. Just click here. I could add some more details and create. Now the flat tire is a product-wide definition. If I go to one of my other values and I go into one of the specifications, anywhere where there's a text field, I can click Command E, get my definitions up, and you should be able to find flat tire here as a defined word. So now I've added, it doesn't make any sense, but I've added the flat tire to my meter and it comes up with its definition. Let's go back to serviceability, suspension. I can do the same thing with the scale. If my new scale of pump time here is such a beautiful scale that I think it can be reused, I just select it and go to template statements. Because I'm in the scale, it knows that I am dealing with scales and not some other specification type. So here are my scales, but what I want to do is I want to create a new record of this scale that is accessible to everybody else. So I can go create new template. I can add some more detail. It knows this template should apply to scales. I need to give it a name. I'm going to call it same as I did in my own specification, pump time, and create. A new defined statement was created. Now that scale is available for all the other specifications throughout this project. What I could do is I could delete my scale just for fun. I go in, I select my templates, and here are the project templates of pump time that I just created available for everybody. The last thing I want to do is show you how to create a variable that you can reuse into the status and wish. So if you just write in square brackets a variable, then the pump time becomes this variable here. I can add a couple of different pump types, separate them by comma, and voila, I've created variation. The comma here is the thing that makes it intelligent and understand that these are two different entities. If I now go to set my status, the pump time comes up with my two different types here. So I'm looking for my pump time for a small handheld right now. I can now go into my status and wish levels and set times for different pump types. Small handheld, 45 seconds. And for my wish, I'm still gonna work with a small handheld. I want to bring that down to 25 seconds. I can also go into any function or stakeholder. Let me go into the mountain bike function. Here is a menu where you can do various things. I really like this view linked value function. It shows me all the values that are linked to that function or that subfunction. If I go back to the canvas, I can do the same thing with a product or, for instance, a stakeholder. So if I click on the chief engineer, let's see, chief designer, let me check the chief designer. I look at, well, what are their linked values, and I see they really care about brand repetition, fun of writing, and attractivity. This way I can actually go right here. I can check, any product, any service, any function, any subfunction, and any solution, and I can check the values attached to that. So for the bike owner, they really care about durability. They don't want their bikes to break. Going back into the canvas view, between the levels, between the stakeholder level and the product level, you can create as many value decision tables as you like between any two levels. I have created a little value decision table here that just goes between my serviceability values and a couple of solutions. To go there, just double click. it renders this beautiful value decision table. And here there are lots of different functions with lots of different options, but it's all really simple and extremely flexible and makes beautiful tables like this. So here we show this suspension adjustment markings as an idea to create serviceability suspension. There's also a claim that is going to help me with my serviceability wheels. Now let's say that is not the case. We need to adjust that. I can double click and I can say no, I think actually it'll have no change. I can say what my evidence is and who my sources are. The function set for the value decision tables are extremely powerful. The variations are endless. You can do value knockout table, value decision table, value tracking tables, and you can have many of them. And when you add information between the tire tool and serviceability.wheels, the value would follow. So when you create, if you were to create a new value decision table, it will remember its impact on wheels. There are many different views and graphs that you can create. There are diagrams with many different options. You can change and look at the diagrams, and you can work from the diagram. You can go right in here, change, move, edit the specification, go back to the diagram. The possibilities are numerous, and they really all support you in executing a value-first paradigm. That is some of the functionalities in ValPlan. The main view, the working view, is from the canvas and from the value decision tables. That's a quick introduction to ValPlan. I hope you enjoyed seeing that as much as I enjoyed showing it to you. I mean, it's a fantastic tool. It will support you all the way in everything you might have learned from us on a course or training or read in our books. If you are excited about value first and are looking for support to make this happen in your organization, in your company, then ValPlan might give you just that support that you need. Every organization is different. There are small and larger, maybe a 2-3 people organization to thousands of people. We have different ways for you to implement ValPlan. What you need to do is just contact us and we will discuss your needs and find the best way forward with ValPlan.